Hey, welcome to this week's or this version of Pick Up the Mic. Today we're spotlighting Will, who's usually the host, Pastor Will. So we get to hear a lot of his story, but the last probably 30 minutes is Will dealing with two of my Ask the Pastor questions related to his story. So stick around. If you're a nerd like him, you'll really enjoy some of the answers to his questions. So, based on the white hairs in your beard, I'd say you're born, 1975, give or take? Why don't you start there?
It feels like I was born in 1975.
Well, the picture on your badge that you just took off, there's a lot less white in that beard. What, you started 2 years ago?
Yeah,
Less than 2 years.
2 years ago this week, I think. And it feels like 2 weeks. The effect on my body has been 15 years, apparently. No, I was born in 88. I'm 36, about to be 37 here in August.
Nice.
So, yeah, still, I'm over the hump. Let's just be real. I peaked. You know, all these young guys joke about, I haven't peaked yet.
Yeah, I haven't peaked.
Yeah, well,
I'm
good for you.
32. I got 10 good years ahead of me.
Good for you. I peaked. You know, if you measure that, I always joke, if you measure, could I beat myself up? Ladies, for the few ladies who probably listen to this is how young, dumb men think, but it's like, what age could I have beat up every other age of Will? It's in the past.
Oh,
it's in the past. Yeah. 3 knee surgeries, wrist surgery, thumb surgery, broken shoulders, broken ribs.
Just a weak man, everybody.
You know,
look at that.
it's here's a good phrase, and it's true. It's the miles, not the years. It's true in your car. It's true in your body.
You're saying you got a whole lot more miles than years?
I got more miles than the years would suggest. So, yeah. No, 88. Well, Sunshine.
In the area?
Yeah, Sunshine, help me out. I think I'm in the last of the millennials, the dreaded millennial generation everybody used to talk about.
Demarcations are.
I don't either. I'm pretty sure I'm a millennial. And yeah, I grew up right on the other side of the Kiski River. If everybody's familiar with where Apollo is from here, so you go down Dime Road through Fort City, down Dime Road. If you went another 7 miles beyond the Apollo Bridge, like you were heading towards Delmont, I grew up right there in Washington Township, Pennsylvania. So Kiski Area High School, school district. Yep.
Okay, so hit us with some of the highlights of what makes you you. Give us some childhood memories, give us some family background. How did we get the Will that's sitting before us right now?
All right. Well, since it's church podcast, we'll start.
Got to censor it.
We'll start religious. No, I'm just trying to think of where to begin there, right? We were a Catholic household, at least nominally. My mom's Irish. My dad grew up in the South. I found out later in life, because I didn't know anything about other denominations, he grew up Methodist when he was young, but old school Methodist, not new school Methodist. It was much more Southern Baptist-y feel in his generation. But when he married my mom, because none of them actually, in my assessment, know Jesus or are religious now at all. When he married my mother, the Catholicism took over. So we went to Catholic church every week. We went to Catholic school. When I say we, I'm the middle child of 3, so I have an older sister and a younger sister. And like good Irish Catholics do, we're all Irish twins, so we're all a year and a half apart. Nice. So my mom jokes all the time about almost going crazy when we were all in diapers,
I know you're big and strapping now, but was one of the siblings more prone to beating up the other ones?
Oh yeah, I still think the worst beating I ever took in my life was at the hands of my older sister. We can get there. That was in junior high, but so we went to Catholic school, which meant, if you're not familiar with Catholic school, it meant, we went to math. We went to mass on Wednesdays as kids at school, and then we also went to Sunday mass as a family, and went to Sunday school on Sundays, and so that was kind of educational upbringing. And then Yeah, my parents, phenomenal parents. I love them dearly still now. Still very close with them now. Good parents in all the traditional value ways. Religion was definitely not a centerpiece of the household by any means at all. But if you think post World War II traditional American values were there. Manners. My mom was big on manners. My dad is a college professor as a vocation. So education, like
Professor of what?
engineering. So he taught at Penn State for 27 years, I think. And before that, owned his own engineering firm with a couple other guys. He sold out of his interest in the engineering firm when my mom had my older sister because he wanted more flexible time at home with the kids because he's a great dad. So we were that household where like good grades, education had a premium value put on it, manners, good morals. So it's classic old school American upbringing. Some quirks. Mike always jokes about the what's it called, top shelf stuff. But like, so my older sister's always been a huge bookworm. I wouldn't call her like an autodidact necessarily, and that's someone who like self teaches. Auto means self. She self-taught herself a lot. She would just consume tons and tons of books, even from a very young age. She always had a very large vocabulary, even as like a 10-year-old.
Were you guys one of those families that had the encyclopedia on the back of the toilet?
No, we had a dictionary on the counter next to the kitchen table. And the rule was if my mom or my dad or my older sister used a word that I didn't know or my younger sister didn't know, we had to stop the conversation. The younger child had to find the word in the dictionary, read the definition, and then use it in a new sentence to kind of show that they conceived of what the meaning was before the conversation went on. So that's like...
They're a whole bunch of top shelf.
Yeah.
Everything's hard to reach in that household.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get there. So my dad's in mental decline right now. He's in his upper 70s, having some dementia. But if you had met him in his prime, like, he's got a very large vocabulary. He's very good at crossword puzzles. Like my mom, I remember, it's like weird anecdote. I remember when my mom got like a word of the day calendar, like every day it's on your nightstand. It's like learning new top shelf words that you don't use regularly. And she was like on a mission to find one that my dad didn't know. And she never, in a 365 day calendar, she would quiz him every day, and he just knew it. He already knew every word in her word of the day calendar.
That's wild. So I'm one of the people that met your dad later, since his mental decline, and you can tell he's smart, but I would have pegged your mom as being the scholar of the household. That's wild.
No, my dad's intellectual prowess was large. Before the last 10 years or so. So that was the household. It was great. We lived on like a rural residential street, so not like a housing plan or a neighborhood, but kind of like 5 to 7 acre plots. And so it's quiet little street. There were a ton of kids when I was growing up. I was kind of in that last generation of non-helicopter parents. And because we were kind of out in the country, we would just run around the road all day long with kids on bikes. Did
you guys lock your doors at night?
No, in fact, still, if you want to steal a car, just go to my parents' house. There's 3 of them in the driveway, and the keys are all in them. Have at it. Like,
mine's in the same situation.
Yeah.
In case anyone's looking, but they don't want to.
Yeah.
No one wants to steal my car.
Yeah, no, never locked the doors. Keys were always in the cars. It was an awesome childhood. I went to public school starting in junior high, 7th grade.
Is that like a track that all your siblings followed?
Yeah, at the time in our area, there was not a Christian high school around. We went to St. James, which still exists as a church in Apollo. And when their school shut down because of small attendance when I was in second grade or third grade. And then we went to Mother of Sorrows, which still exists, still a large Catholic elementary school. It's way bigger than when I went there. It's in Murraysville. But at the time, they only went through sixth grade. Your only option in our area for Catholic high school was to drive all the way to Greensburg Central Catholic. And my parents just didn't want to do that. It was pretty small. Again, my parents were all about academics.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Did they put you guys in Catholic school more for the academics than the religious stuff?
100% for academics. And then, once I think there was probably like get the kids some morals in there, like some vague.
Get some God points and.
It was just morality. You want them to be good kids. Yeah. And then the public high schools, which Kiski I still think is academically an okay school. I don't know how crazy it's gotten, but they had many more. We call them advanced placement classes, like college preparatory classes, and so they just thought it was better at that point. So we all started going to Kiski as we all hit seventh grade.
And during this time, just general upbringing, your relationship with your sisters, you guys close knit. Oh
yeah, I mean it shifted. Anybody out there listening who's got siblings of close age or is a sibling of close ages, I mean you fight like cat and dogs. But I think most of that fighting like cat and dogs ends up knitting you together once you like hit pre-puberty and pubescent ages. Like we were tight in high school. My sisters kind of fought a little bit in high school because as girls do, I'm sure Sunshine can attest, they like steal each other's clothes and stuff, and that annoys them. But as the only boy, I didn't have any of that. So I was pretty tight with my older sister. Once she graduated and went to college, then my younger sister and I were really tight. My younger sister and I were kind of like best buds into our 20s. Really, it was really until I got saved that there was any rift. So yeah, I was very close with both of them at various times.
And we're coming back to that eventually.
Yeah, of course. So it's definitely not saved in high school. Yeah.
Can you give us a story? I know this is off the top of your head, a story from that time, let's say birth to mid-teens, that's like one of your favorite memories. Sounds like you got one, right?
I don't know why. So one came to mind because as far as I know, it's totally unique, and I would say it's not one of my most pleasant memories. I was a very square kid. I didn't fall into debauchery until after high school, or like
really wondered what you meant by square. I was like, you're still a square man. If that's
I was super square, but I was a jerk. I still am in some respects, but I really was an arrogant little know-it-all, because I did know it all. I still do. I tell people less often now that I do, but so in ninth grade, so you got I'm a freshman in fairly large high school, and I'm taking Algebra 2, second year Algebra 2, which is a junior senior class, and I'm with three other freshmen who are in the higher levels of math, and we were all on the math team. I know you can laugh privately at home.
Big surprise there.
Yeah, so I was president of the math team at one point in time, and we were quite good. But we were still all very competitive because we were all into sports too, so we had the competitive edge. And as good friends do even now, I mean, we would just ruthlessly make fun of each other. And we never had the gall to, like, we were ninth graders, right? I mean, you feel like a pipsqueak in ninth grade when you first go to high school. I would have never in a million years, like, openly made fun of a senior. You kidding me? I was like 140 pounds. You know what I mean?
Sounds big to ninth grade Isaac.
But I had my other three buddies in the class. So we would take a midterm, and we'd all get 99s and 100s. And the one buddy who got 97, we would just start ruthlessly making fun of him for how dumb he was as they're handing back out test scores, just totally being unaware that, like, there's seniors in the class who are getting D's, and I'm just tearing my buddy a new one for missing 2 questions, and so I remember Mr. Jankowski, who will probably never hear this, awesome teacher, young guy. I walk into class with my buddy Blair one day, and he's sitting on the desk, and all on his desk, and all the desks are in a circle, and we spent a whole 45-minute math period having an intervention for Blair and I,
because you guys were so mean,
because we were jerks. And it was like it was the most humbling at that point in time in my life. It was the most uncomfortable, humbling, eye-opening experience about how like other people experience me in my life. It was definitely a moment of new self-awareness and growth. So he did like the classic intervention strategy. Like everyone got to go around the room and take turns about how I made them feel. And it sucked really bad. So I was in 9th grade just letting everybody tell me how big of a jerkwad I was.
Humility.
Yeah, so that's probably a good framing for probably what I was like in high school. Yeah, so I lost a few friends in high school later on that I thought I was really close with.
What do you mean lost? You just
they just like quit
separate
hanging out
ways?
with me.
Okay.
Like,
I wasn't sure if you meant lost.
No, they didn't die. They they just abandoned me. Like I can remember senior year, we had been talking to go see a comedian who was coming to Pittsburgh. His name's avoiding me. He was a guy that was always on WDVE occasionally and did impressions. He's like a Pittsburgh comedian. It's an impressionist. Doesn't matter. Some people know who I'm talking about. He was on the DVE morning show a lot.
I feel like that's a trivia question Mike would have gotten.
Yeah, somebody's going to guess it out there and write it in the comments. And I had been it was like partially my idea, right? And we wanted to go. Everybody agreed they wanted to go. And then nothing ever happened with it. And I found out later that that group of friends, which at the time included my best friend, who, your friend in high school who you're at their house or they're at your house like 90% of the time, right? My best buddy, they all organized and went without me and like purposefully left me out, which was really painful. But it was another one of these, like, that probably was my one giant turning point of like, okay.
And are you saying this is associated with you being proud and arrogant and mean?
Yeah, I think so. We never talked about it. I was kind of like I was too hurt at the time because you're like 17, you're like kid, don't know how to deal with that. I at least had enough self-awareness to know that like I was hurt, but I wasn't really mad at him. I kind of knew somehow intrinsically that like I needed to take a hard look at like why he would do that. And yeah, I never got any closure on that. I never confronted him about it or anything. I actually just saw him for the first time at a wedding last year. Since then,
and you're like, dude, why didn't you take me to the meeting? What the heck?
No, we didn't talk about it at all. We're both married with kids and grown up and live across the country now, so it's just in the past. But that was another seminal moment. I guess I didn't realize how seminal those 2 moments were, but when you asked me,
I asked the question favorite memories, and you went to those two dark places.
Those are the two. Those are the two.
I feel like there's some psychological eval waiting to be had right now.
Well, I would say that they were blessings, because if I'm being honest, sitting here at almost 37 now,
like those formative insights into.
Well, there's if I have blind spots in being abrasive to people, it's still with the same things, and so it's not surprising to me that I guess they're anchored in there more than I realize, because your personality is your personality. I think all the things that existed then that made those events happen are still in me. I mean, Jesus has sanded off some of the corners, but they're still probably the primary things I need to be aware of. Arrogance and abrasiveness.
So you kind of foreshadowed your debauchery, which is what everyone wants to hear about. So we're going to skip, unless there's something in the up to early or late teen years that you want to cover.
I do. Well, I think they tie together. I didn't realize they tied together until I just kind of did this exercise with a group of guys I've been meeting with where we were all talking about our stories. And it came out differently than it had come out before because I guess, I don't know, sometimes your brain pulls things up in a different fashion. But tied to my supreme arrogance and self-confidence.
Naturally being better than other people at everything.
I really did in high school and even sitting here now. No false humility. I really thought I was capable of anything. Like in high school, I really thought like I could be the president if I wanted to be.
Feeling like you're capable of anything feels like a curse to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm so much the opposite.
Well, when it doesn't work out, we'll get to when it doesn't work out. Yeah. So obviously I wanted to go to a really good school. I mean, that in like the hierarchy of values in my family makes sense. That's kind of like academic achievement and then career achievement, like classic American dream stuff, kind of chasing material wealth.
And the regular listener will notice that your father's degree, engineering, also became your degree in profession. Was it always the plan to kind of follow where, I mean, I don't know how much, engineering is kind of a broad category. I don't know how much overlap there is, but.
Yeah, like most 18-year-olds. So I wanted to go to a really good school. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. By nature, because I have the same genes as my dad, I think I was just born with an engineering mind, at least a mind that made engineering natural to me. Like the mathematics and critical thinking skills that are used in there were just natural to me. Math was never hard. And so it just seemed to fit. Like all 18-year-olds, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew you wanted your degree to be valuable at the end. And my dad was an engineer, and I really liked math and science. And so I was like, well, hey, I'll just go into engineering. And I literally only picked mechanical engineering because I knew I wanted to be in at least a slightly different domain than my dad, because I didn't want to be in his intellectual shadow the whole time. Like, hey, if I can be in my own domain, we can have great conversation. But, there's like 1 degree of separation, kind of. So that's why I picked mechanical engineering, really for no other reason. I didn't want to be an electrical engineer. And I didn't get into any of the schools I wanted to. So this is like the first.
So how do you go from being the kid that makes the best grades and is in the highest classes to not making any of the colleges you wanted?
I don't know. I'm going to blame DEI. I don't know.
Those losers.
I don't, maybe my essays sucked. Mike says I write like a fifth grader. So maybe that was still true then. Or it's just luck of the draw. I realize now, having been in academia at some points, that like some of it's just luck. They get a tremendous volume of applications and only take so many people, particularly the prestigious schools. And so like the last ditch I had was, since my dad was a professor at Penn State, I got a significant tuition discount. Not to make everybody jealous, but at least back in the day, it didn't matter if you were a groundskeeper at Penn State. If you were employed by Penn State, your children got 80% off tuition. Just regardless.
For college.
Yeah, regardless of any other scholarships you might have or whatever, it was just boom, take 80% off the top. And Penn State has a very prestigious school internally. Most people don't know. It's called the Schreier's College. It's Penn State's honors college. It's very difficult to get into, small acceptance list. And so that was like my last ditch. It's like, well, Penn State's a great school. It's essentially going to be almost free. And the Schreier's College is great. Well, they didn't take me neither, which I thought was ridiculous.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, my dad's like an assistant department head. I have great grades. great SAT scores, great ACT scores. Maybe I just totally suck at writing essays.
Well, you're one step ahead of me, because I remember in high school, I was on the same track. My senior year, AP Calc, AP Physics, my 5th year of language, like all that stuff. And I remember going to the guidance counselor saying that I wanted to apply for Columbia, which is where I eventually went, Columbia International University. And she goes, "Oh, my first Ivy League." And I was like, "Oh, slow down there." That ain't it.
That's what I thought you meant too. My mom went to Columbia, which is in New York City.
Different one than me, huh?
Yeah, she went to the Ivy League one in New York City. Yeah. So anyway, I think that the reason I tie that into the debauchery thing is I had no actual religious beliefs, no gospel. It's crazy. Mike and I have joked about it before, but I don't know how many years of Catholic nurturing, mass twice a week, religion classes, all that crap. And like I did not know the gospel. At least certainly, I'm not saying I never heard it before, similar to your story, but it certainly wasn't in here anywhere. And right at the end of high school, when I was not getting into these schools, it's kind of right at the same time I've had my first alcoholic beverage. I first got someone to make me try marijuana.
Is this like a conscious choice to rebel, to break out? Or
I think this is all retrospective. But yeah, I think the emotions were tied together, because if I step back and look at my undergrad, my 4 years at Penn State, which is a big party school, so it's not like it was hard to party. Everybody is doing it there. I was kind of like in the screw it. Like that was my mind frame. And
the Ecclesiastes stage of life.
Yeah.
Matters.
Screw it. I'm just going to phone it in. Like if I'm stuck going to the regular state school, whatever. And yeah, I did very well from an objective measurement standpoint. I got essentially straight A's until my last semester. Graduated top 10 in the engineering program out of like 400 graduates that year. But I only went to like 50% of my classes.
I was going to say, is this giving it your all,
No,
or just
this is just
a hobby
wasting,
to partying?
This is just wasting God's gifts. Not trying to say it braggadociously. It's a great shame of mine now in my life. It actually changed how I looked at my second go around at school, in grad school, because I was older and wiser then. But like, I wasted the years where you have like the most freedom and availability to learn and grow in wise, God honoring ways. And I was just like drunk 50% of the time, smoking weed every day. I mean, I ended up becoming a huge pothead. I smoked literally every single day as soon as the day started, skipping half of my classes.
And again, is this to dull something, or just to have the experience? Like, you just liked it, or?
Yeah, it was all the above. Like I fell into a different friend group that, again, this is all psychoanalysis after the fact. Friend group that was very accepting for me. They loved me. I know they loved me. They love me now. I still love them. Like, it was good. I had great relationships. Not the right crowd you want to be in, but and yeah, it was kind of like we took pride in kind of like, not literally, but I guess like philosophically throwing the middle finger to the man. Like we would, again, so remember in 9th grade, I had an intervention for being a jerk. We used to make a point of it with all the kids who were trying so hard in class that my roommate and I, who was also very intellectually gifted, could not show up, be drunk half the time, and be
Get better grades.
Be the standard bearers on the test scores. Like when there was a curve, we were the two guys setting the curve, and everybody would just like be mad. And we're like, I don't know why you guys think it's so hard. I'm gonna go smoke cigarettes and go to the bar. It was just like this is beneath us type of thing.
Mm-hmm. If only your math teacher had been there to
slap me in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how that 4 years went. It was not good. A lot of the more I look back, there's like a lot of wonderful relationships that I was given the opportunity to have that I didn't take advantage of because everybody just probably hated me like they did in 9th grade and 12th grade. I hadn't really changed at all. It was just our little group of partiers, and you guys are all dumb. How come you think this is so hard?
This is the age-old saying from old people, why is youth always wasted on the young?
Yeah. So that was that 4 years. It was just a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I'll say to you young people out there, if there are any young people listening, is you'll hear older people talk about like you just growing a void in your soul, like a pit. Like it comes in later in the story, which we'll get to, but like it costs you something. Yeah. It didn't cost me grades, thankfully. It did. Like a lot of friends that I had ended up having to drop out, like they flunked out. It didn't cost me that way, but like spiritually, it definitely cost me something. And so like you pay the piper. I forget where it was. I was just reading like Galatians 5, the passage Hebrews 4. The word is like a double-edged sword. At the end of that, it says like all creatures are laid bare,
naked and exposed.
Yes. Yeah. And at the end, it says to the one you will have to deal with or do with,
give account.
Yeah, like you're gonna stand before him, and in my life, like those years of undergrad and the years after, I was building up an account that ended up weighing on my soul over time because I just like knew I was gonna have to like give an account.
Yeah. That's a valuable perspective. If we're still talking to the youngins, a theory I have is that from what I can tell, this generation of let's say teenagers seems to statistically be the most anxious generation we've had yet. Maybe it's because we have words like anxiety and depression and they get tossed out more flippantly, but I suspect that will lead to college years looking very different for one reason or another for this generation. Maybe because they already recognize the vanity, the wastedness of, or maybe it'll get worse because everyone's just trying to cover up pain that they know is there. I don't know. But
I don't know. It's weird. Like I'm an anxious person now. I have bouts of struggling with anxiety now. I did not then. Like if you were to like take a secret like camcorder of my 4 years in college and even in the years after my first years of professional life, like it was the opposite of anxious. We thought we were invincible. Like we did so many. Like there were so many opportunities. I remember you showed me a video of you at a party where you're imitating Hulk Hogan. And you're like, look at these 24-inch pythons.
That dude is confident.
God definitely saved
and drunk.
Me and others from bodily harm a bunch of times. Like there was definitely a bunch of opportunities there to like incur serious bodily harm because we just thought nothing bad could happen to us, you know.
And
sure, let's jump off this.
It turns out all your bodily harm came from organized sports.
Yes, organized sports. You hear that redneck phrase, hold my beer?
Yeah.
We did a lot of hold my beer, like.
Watch this.
Yeah. And somehow came out unscathed. All my injuries come from very dumb like things later. So anyway, slow pitch adult softball has caused me more surgeries than almost anything else.
My father, who is like, he was never involved in the profession of bodybuilding, but was like big into that world. I think he told me he would work out like 4 times a day in high school. So always a big dude. At my sister's graduation party, tore his bicep playing kickball. Ball's coming down. He tried to catch it with his dominant hand nonetheless. And when this tiny little ball hit his hand, his bicep tore, and it's like one of those you could see where it just like balled up here. Yeah.
Ugh. Ugh.
We make fun of him for that.
Yeah. Anyway,
so that was college years.
That was college. Graduate again. I always had these ideas of grandeur, but then like never really pursued them.
You get a job right away?
Yeah, my close buddy's mom worked in HR at an industrial automation place down in RDC Park. So I just used that connection to get an interview. Got hired there. That's where I worked up until I started working here. And it was a great place to work. So yeah, I was just an entry-level R&D engineer. I ended up getting a house, renting a house with a couple other buddies in Vandergrift. So 3 bachelors in a house in Vandergrift. And it was more years of the same now, just with more money. So making...
Warning.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, it was weird. Succeeded in my job. Everyone at work thought I was doing a great job. You know, I was getting promotions in those years. I was like succeeding over here, and then I was just partying when I wasn't at work. You know, it's like,
and so you've told us about the Catholic stuff, and I think you've said it on the podcast, but we've talked a lot about the Catholic guilt being a part of your story. Where was all that during this? Like the religious stuff, was it nagging you, or just like?
No, if anything was nagging me, it had nothing. It was not religious at this point. It was at this point it was still self-centered. I knew through this whole period, I knew in college, even as I was on the surface, like making fun of other people, like I said, I knew I wasn't living up to what I was capable of. Like I was underachieving, essentially. I just knew I was underachieving. And then, even though I was in a good job, it was a good job. It's a great place to work, great job. But I knew I was underachieving relative to my grandiose vision of myself, and I knew I was, and I think I was just trying to bury that thought of like, you're wasting your life and you have more to offer than this. I was just like,
shove it way down deep.
Shut up, let's go play pool. It's wing night, you know. Yeah, and it was in this time frame that some stuff happened where I first had my taste of like medical anxiety, and that's really where the guilt kicked in. So it used to be I smoked cigarettes, didn't start till undergrad, so that's really dumb. Everybody, don't do that.
I cannot believe. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah. And then so I was smoking cigarettes even in my first few years of my career. And I ended up getting pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia.
As a result of smoking, or
well,
just
smoking
weak lungs?
Smoking didn't help. I probably just got pneumonia, but with smoking on top of it. I didn't know I had pneumonia because I didn't have a fever or anything. I just like was getting this really bad cough. And then I started coughing up blood. And I was like 24 or 23. So like a couple years out of school, and I'm coughing up blood, and like this is where I first contracted a deadly disease that I did not actually have. So of course, what do you think? You got lung cancer.
Right.
What an idiot, smoking cigarettes, and I got lung cancer at 23. So I go to the doctor, discover I do not have lung cancer. I have pneumonia. Before he even gave me an x-ray, he just looked at me. He's like, first off, you don't have cancer. I was like, why? He's like, because you're 23. He said you would be the youngest smoker in the history of smoking to ever get lung cancer ever. He's like, you just don't have it. He's like, if you were 55, then maybe.
Were your thoughts like, I'm about to set a record? Or
I was like, this dude doesn't know what he's talking about. Because of course I do.
Yeah.
And then so we got the chest x-ray. He's like, yeah, you have pneumonia. Take some antibiotics. You should stop smoking. Which I did stop smoking. But that was the first time I had to, I think.
Wait, maybe we should pause there. You just stopped smoking? Lots of people try to stop smoking.
Well.
And you just summed it up in a sentence.
I switched to a different delivery mechanism for nicotine, but it did not include inhaling smoke. So I switched to chewing because I was in the, Western Pennsylvania redneck crowd. So chewing was pretty prolific too. So it was a pretty easy switch to make. But I still think it's probably better than smoking. At least you can see your mouth and your tongue and your gums, and you can go to the dentist and, it's not hidden in your lungs. That was my thought. So anyway, I think the important thing there.
Scholar's take on tobacco.
Mm-hmm, the important thing there was, and I think a lot of young men go through. I think a lot of young people go through this all together. There's at some point where you have like your first realization of your mortality. Like I just said, in my early 20s in college, I was invincible. I think a lot, particularly young men, like that's why they do stupid things. Because they don't think that they can get hurt, right? I think that was my first, coming to the realization. Was like, holy smack, like I could die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die someday. And that's when the dread of judgment started happening. I was
going to get to your fear of death.
I had not had one thought of judgment or whether or not God existed, even cared to like think about the ultimate question, from the time I like quit going to church regularly, probably around 16. Like in our household, like once everybody started driving and was in high school and didn't want to go anymore, we kind of quit going as a family. So it's basically, there was no church or no religion the later half of high school through college. And so there in my early mid-20s, you have the realization that you're going to die someday. And I wasn't even sure I believed God existed, but somehow knew, because I was not living appropriately. I was not living up to the giftings that God had given me. I was like squandering my life and living in a very amoral way. Like I had good morals. I knew I was living like a reprobate. I was going to use a different word.
Dummy.
A dummy. That's a good one. So yeah, that's when the guilt started kicked in. But it didn't make anything change right away. Long story short, another year or two goes by. Actually, it wasn't even that long. It's probably that same year. I had a gallbladder.
Same year as the lung cancer, you're saying?
It was.
Okay.
Well, I'm trying to remember. I'm bad at dates. My wife always accuses me of lying because I misremember dates.
I was just wondering if that's the event you were saying, same year.
Well, I went back to grad school at 23, and I went to college at 18. I graduated at 22. I went to grad school right as I turned 25 in August. So probably 23 was the lung thing, and probably 24, age-wise, was when I had a gallbladder thing. Your gallbladder's connected to your liver. I was drinking pretty heavily. All of a sudden, my liver starts hurting. No, I just thought I was having I was getting fatty liver disease or having liver failure. Again,
based on what? Like
the fact that I drank all the time and my liver hurt, and drinking made my liver hurt more.
What do you mean your liver hurt? How do you know when
your
liver hurts? So
anybody out there who's had gallbladder issues, which I currently still have them occasionally, it's a gallbladder issue. Your liver actually doesn't hurt ever. Like even people that die of cirrhosis of the liver, your liver never actually like causes you physical pain, but your gallbladder certainly does. So I'm sure there's people listening who have had their gallbladder removed. they can attest that when you start having gallbladder issues, it's just very uncomfortable. Like dull ache. When you do things that irritate it, like eat fatty foods or whatever, you just feel really bad. And I was kind of feeling like that. And I, of course, assumed it was all drinking related. And again, now it was like in my brain, God is killing me because I deserve to be killed, because I'm living like a dummy, as you said, and I deserve it.
You're actually thinking about God.
I'm thinking about retribution from God at this point.
And this is the God that you were taught in Catholic school?
I don't know. Yeah. It's
just something.
Theistic.
Something with the power to judge.
Yeah, I mean, it was all in there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had read the whole Bible cover to cover in grade school. So it was all in there. But it was certainly not a well-developed Christian framework. It was more just Thomas Jefferson, theistic God of the universe is killing me because I deserve to be killed. And I was having trouble changing my behavior even with that in the backdrop. And that's what led me to, I knew I wanted to go to grad school anyway, because that's what you do in my family. You go to grad school because that's how you get paid more money and prove to everybody that you're really smart. And
did both your sisters go to grad school?
Neither finished. My older sister went to grad school and dropped out after a year.
So they both started feeling the same sort of pressure that you were feeling.
No, they have totally different stories. I could get into theirs. But anyway, both my parents have graduate degrees. Grad school was like a foregone conclusion even before I started undergrad. I got, which I think was good advice from my father, which is that you don't want to jump right from undergrad to grad school, because grad school is where you really can change courses or choose to hyper-specialize. So even with an engineering degree, the grad school choice is where you can turn an engineering degree into a law degree. So I actually have a family friend who's a lawyer at a very big law firm in Philadelphia. His undergrad is in engineering. He did patent law for a long time, and then he did corporate law. So it helps you to have an engineering degree if you're going to go be a corporate lawyer. If it's a technical company, like you could be a corporate lawyer for Apple, and it actually like helps you to know some engineering about phones to then worry about the legal things surrounding phones. You can take an engineering degree into medicine, into business, so you can go get an MBA. So my dad was always like, you want to go work for a little bit, experience what it's like to be an engineer, figure out what else out there, because your grad school decision is another opportunity to pivot your career in a way you like, or if you really like engineering, the technical side, to pick a specialization in a particular area to focus on. Because engineering is very broad. You know, everything from working for PennDOT and building bridges to working at SpaceX with rockets to like computers to medical devices. Like there's totally different realms you can go into with an engineering degree. And so if you get some exposure to an industry and you like it, well, yeah, then it helps you. So I knew I was going to go to grad school. I was going to go back to Penn State. A professor I had in undergrad at Penn State was close friends with my boss. My boss had gotten his graduate degree with that professor at Penn State as his advisor. And so I was going to go back to that program, kind of like Mike told you Columbia was a great place to go, and he knew the professors there. My boss, who I still admire and meet with monthly, even now for lunch, was like, oh, he's a great advisor. You're going to learn a ton. It's appropriate for the work you're doing here. And so he wrote him, like I got a reference letter from my boss, and he wrote the college that he was going to take me on as a PhD student. So like I kind of got to skip the application process for becoming a PhD student, which is an arduous process because he was. So I get the acceptance letter from Penn State, and like my stomach just dropped. Like I was at this decision point. I couldn't go back because geographically it was too close to all my friends. And I was at this point where I knew I needed to clean up my act. It was still self-centered. It was just because I was trying to avoid this damnation, this judgment. So I knew I wanted to like change how I was behaving. And I had enough self-awareness that I was not good with like peer pressure. Like I needed separation from my beloved friend group if I was going to change. So I got the acceptance letter, which this guy just went out on a limb and like hand selected me as one of his understudies. And I had to write him and say like, I can't come. Like I need to go to a different state. So
I need better friends.
I had
that
a
actually
friend.
sounds like the moment in your story, at least from what you've shared with us, that you went from being smart to being wise. Whereas like that, I've got to think a little bit deeper about the effects of my environment and atmosphere and stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that was definitely a huge turning point. I was never friends with any of those guys in the same way again. I still am not to this day. I love them all. I know them all. I do not hang out with them almost at all anymore, really, ever since I went to grad school. It really was like the breakaway moment. And it was in grad school that I like first had some interactions with the Holy Spirit. So I'm like, I got to go to a different state. Like, I don't even care what other state, but like, I need a fresh start. I need like a place where nobody knows me. Nobody has this preconceived notion of what I'm like, me being the fun partier guy. Like,
what's the opposite of the Cheers bar?
Exactly.
Where no one knows your name.
Correct.
I don't know what that is.
So I talked to my boss, and he was very, he's a great guy. And he was like, well, this University of North Carolina in Charlotte has a really great program too. I know some people there. I said, cool. And I ended up going to Charlotte, University of North Carolina, Charlotte, for my graduate degree. And it was great. It was like total fresh start. And that's really where the Holy Spirit story kind of comes in.
You gonna tell it?
Yeah.
And are you gonna cry? Let's predict now.
No, I'm not gonna cry.
Let's see if we can get it out of you.
Yeah. No, probably not with this. Maybe other things. But okay. So if you're familiar with like the usual swing of the school year, it's similar to your kid's elementary school. First week of classes is generally always right around the end of August, right? It's like the same school year. So I put in my notice at work that I was quitting because I was going back to school full time. They were in support of it. I gave myself, I think, like a 2-week break between my last day of work and first day of classes to kind of like move to North Carolina and get on campus, all that stuff. So it's end of August 2013, and I don't have a weed dealer in North Carolina. So of course, I gotta get some before I move, so I can make some connections down there.
Isn't that a chapter title in everyone's memoir? I don't have a weed dealer.
I'm just being honest. So I'm sitting in Giant Eagle parking lot in Leechburg, in North Allegheny Plaza, right by Kiski High School, waiting to meet my friend. And I, for the life of me, could not tell you why or how I was listening to Christian radio. But I'm listening to some preacher in my car, waiting to buy some weed, so I have some weed when I go to North Carolina. And this heretic, who I now call a false teacher, is explaining universalism. Do you know what universalism is?
I do, but can you share with us what it is?
Universalism is a doctrine of salvation that's wrong, not in the Bible, but that everyone goes to heaven.
Universally, everybody.
Jesus, I get the motivation for it. It's a magnifying of Jesus' worthiness on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
His whole explanation was like, Jesus' sacrifice on the cross was for everyone's sin, including your sin of unbelief. Like, he died.
God so loved the world.
God so loved the world. He died for you, even you who don't believe that he died for you. And at the time, I recognize that as heresy now, but I don't know. I'm sitting there just like blubbering, crying in my car.
Well, that's interesting because don't you take away from that you're not going to go to hell?
Yeah, but that's not
Isn't that comforting to the sinner?
When you hear the gospel, like I was crying with relief, but it was also crying with like, I don't know. It was the first moment of like adoration for Jesus, that he would actually die for me, as wretched. What does Paul say? Like chief among sinners. As wretched as I was I had obviously heard of Jesus. I grew up in America. You know who Jesus is.
At least this version of him.
At least that version of Jesus. But I was so wrecked with guilt at this point, because this sense of being condemned had built up so much that like he wasn't for me. He's for the good people out there who try to be good, and he forgives their little inadequacies in being good. But like, I haven't been trying to be good. I've been like purposely being wretched, even though I knew better. And so Jesus's actions weren't for me. So this heresy just like hit me, I don't know, at a primo spot. So I was just bawling. I didn't notice at the time. I would say that was probably my first like Holy Spirit interaction. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Did you get saved by the preaching of universalism?
No. But by another, we'll say
semi.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there. I'm not going to call him a false teacher, but we'll say
problematic teacher.
Christian light.
Yeah.
Problematic teacher. That's a good way to put it. But it definitely like, I don't know. I remember that moment. I don't know what else to say. There's something spiritual in that moment, because I remember that moment.
So what we all want to know is, did you walk away from that experience with weed?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Sure did.
And was it the best or worst?
No, it doesn't matter. So I moved to North Carolina, meet new friends, and I'm trying to redeem myself from undergrad. Like I'm actually trying to learn everything I can learn in grad school. I'm taking it seriously.
There's something amazing about competing with your younger, stupider self.
Yeah. It's really refreshing how easy it is to beat.
Don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
If an idiot would do that thing, don't do that thing.
So grad school really went great. I made a lot of great friends. Lived by myself. I just resolved to live by myself the whole time, even though it meant I lived like Mike, I lived in a trailer for a while, in a really run down, really decrepit trailer park.
I feel like
trailer.
I've lived a lesser life not being part of the trailer park boys.
Other than the fact of how decrepit it was, your standard single wide 2-bedroom for a bachelor, it's like
you developed a redneck accent when you said your standard single wide.
It's a castle, man. It's a castle. I was the only white dude in the whole trailer park. So this North Carolina, I'm just saying, it's 100% minus one person illegal immigrants. It was like, pay cash or check. You don't have to fill out any paperwork. Here's your trailer. And I was the only white guy. Nobody else spoke English. So it was cool. Fun neighbors. And just to fast forward a bit, at some point in grad school, I'm listening to Christian radio again. Again, I don't know why. I have definitely markedly cleaned up my act. And they're doing this 30-day challenge on. I actually think it was Focus on the Family. If you all are familiar with the national Christian broadcast Focus on the Family, they had this like thing on where they're doing this 30-day challenge. If you wanted to start a new healthy habit, if you disciplined yourself to do it every day for 30 days, you could turn it into a habit. And they were mostly focusing on like health stuff. Mm-hmm. And I determined, for whatever reason, which I now see as providence, I decided I was going to pray every day.
That's wild.
Yeah. So that was and I was just like good old Catholic schoolboy. I only knew one way to pray. So every night I'm just on my knees, bedside, elbows on the table, and for 30 days.
Was it a rote prayer or was it? Okay.
Nope. It was just like, a lot of it was just like casting myself before the throne. Like,
That's awesome.
begging for mercy.
Did you cross yourself when you did it?
Yeah. Old habits die
Yeah.
hard. So I definitely crossed myself. And I did that for 30 days. And I was just talking with some other guys about this. Romans 12, 1 and 2. Do not be conformed, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We talked about how the to be verb in that. So do not be conformed. So to be means there's an external force. There's things trying to conform you to the world, but it says be transformed, which means something outside you is transforming you if you open your mind up to it. 30 days of diligent prayer, and all of a sudden I was like, I need to go to church. Like, I just knew I needed to go to church. And I knew I wasn't a Catholic. I didn't know any other denomination. I knew nothing about, I don't even know if I'd heard the word Protestant.
Like you're saying
I knew I needed to go to church, and I knew I wasn't supposed to go to a Catholic church.
Because you didn't want to go to a Catholic church, because you didn't like it, or there was just something going on that
I don't know. I don't know that I actually thought about it in those sort of concrete terms. I just was like, I'm not a Catholic. Catholic church has nothing for me.
I ask that because I think of how often people's stories are like a repelling of their past. We have this huge movement of what they call themselves ex-evangelicals, where they're like, I don't know what it is, but I know it's the opposite of how I was raised. So I was wondering if that was the same for you. Or
that probably was it. There was probably baggage. There's probably baggage that I'm not even recognizing now. I did not have any bad experiences in the Catholic Church. Just throwing that out there. I'm a formal guy, believe it or not. I do well with structure and formality. I like the liturgy. Still to this day, I like psalms and hymns and the congregational reading of Apostles' Creed, and I don't know.
We just had an
high church. I'm a fan of high church.
What do we call an interim pastor who preached this weekend?
Yeah.
Can we name him? I don't know what.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Pastor Daniel led the whole congregation in the doxology this week, and I was like, this dude fits.
I sang it real loud. Yeah. So it wasn't that. It wasn't like I had some trauma in the Catholic Church. I had a good Catholic Church experience, but for whatever reason, I was like, I got to go to a different church. And so I'm a millennial. We just covered that. So Google Maps, church near me.
Not MapQuest though.
Not MapQuest. This is post MapQuest. Church near me. Boom. There's a church right around the corner. Ended up being a Methodist church. I have no idea if it was United or Free. I still don't even know what those mean.
I don't either. Okay, good.
But it was a church, and I would just go and sit in the back. I'd purposefully show up a little bit late. I didn't go every week, but went occasionally. Got swarmed often by the youth pastor and everybody else who are like, look at this 25-year-old single dude. Let's go to lunch. And it's I don't want to go to lunch with you. I don't even want you to know that I'm here. Please leave me alone. And that was 2 years of grad school. And so where the story really turns is...
Well, before that, any moment in the Methodist church where you're like, oh man, there's the gospel, or interesting? Okay.
None.
The Universalist got you, but the Methodist didn't.
No, it was like a duty. I was still living works righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to chip away at the stack of weights on the other side of the scale I had built up.
I've dog-eared a question about that a little bit later.
Yeah, I think that was it. I was trying to check a box to hopefully take some weights off the bad side of the scale.
And how'd it do? Plucking weights off the bad side?
No, I was still super condemned in my soul. I had
theologically and existentially, you mean?
Yeah, I had some really dark nights of the soul. I had some of my darkest nights of the soul living by myself in North Carolina, even when I was definitely living a less sinful life.
More
moral. Yeah, I wouldn't say less sinful. Because without faith, it's impossible to please God, and I didn't have faith yet. But yeah, your classic morality. I was doing less bad things, but I was even more condemned.
And when you say dark night of the soul, do you mean spikes in anxiety? What did that look like for you?
Yep.
Going to the hospital more with cancer.
I was still having gallbladder issue. I was not drinking that much at all, but like it wouldn't go away. I still thought God was killing me. So this is definitely when I developed panic attacks. It was all centered around fear of dying, medical conditions that, I may or may not have. Yeah, so that whole 2 years, I still had the gallbladder thing going on, and I just thought God was still killing me. I mean, I did feel awful physically. And yeah, so like when I say dark nights, I mean like not sleeping at all, in a panic attack.
With no one to cuddle you in the woods.
No one to cuddle you in the woods. And good friends, but not really, you've only been there a year, like no friends like you had back home.
Yeah.
Like mom and dad aren't there. And so yeah, dark nights of like, I'm living by myself with no one to really call or talk to. And
I'm going to die by myself.
And I'm dying and God's killing me and please don't kill me. I made several vows to God in that period, which don't do that.
I was going to say, how many did you keep? None. Your end of?
None.
How many did he keep his proposed end of?
So far, all of them. So God is faithful.
Guessing one was, don't kill me, I'll go to church or something.
I'll never
like that.
Drink again. Because I thought I was dying of liver failure. So I said I'll never drink again. I actually did not drink for a whole year.
1 year of keeping your promise. Good job,
year.
Man.
Yeah, 1 year. But I did keep it for a whole year. It didn't make the gallbladder thing go away. Anyway, so I moved back home. I start working at the same place because I ended up doing my thesis research. I had to write a big paper, fancy paper, and I would come back to their facility in Pittsburgh to take measurements on a machine for my paper. So I stayed in pretty close contact with the same company. So I came back to work for them. And right after I graduated in the fall.
Real quick, was your thesis, did it have something to do with lasers?
No, well,
because that's what your profession involved, right?
I went to school right at the peak of the enthusiasm around additive manufacturing, 3D printing.
I don't know what you just said.
Yeah, well, we have one here. So our boy James 3D printed this. This is plastic. So you know like what a 3D printer is. Uh-huh. Well, they have metal versions which use a laser to melt powdered metal into solid. Similar process to how they do it with plastic. So there were lasers in the machine melting metal. I went to school for metrology, which is the study of measurement or the study of metrics. That's where the word. It's not meteorology. It's not rain. It's metrology, METRO, metrics. And so we designed, built, and then tested a measurement system to keep track of the build as it was being built in process. So that's what we did.
Real quick, tell the story of one time my wife and daughter and I went to dinner with your wife, and your daughter, and we accidentally ended up in a trivia challenge.
Yeah, bar trivia. It was great. We should have won. Stupid trick question at the end. We were smoking everybody.
And they had
a last question that was worth like 10 times the points.
The reason we were smoking everybody, we were like comfortable fourth place or something like that, and literally all 6 of us got up to leave, and because we're never going to accomplish anything with this. And the last regular round question is what the word laser is an abbreviation for what? And Will's like, I was born for this moment. And then we tripled our points or something and took the lead.
I used to do a lot of work with lasers. In fact, when my wife tried to explain what I did for a living, she just said, I don't know, he works with lasers and stuff. So I have
a story about that to come in later in your timeline where stories of you started interacting with my story before we ever knew each other.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Okay, cool. I remember the first time we ever hung out. Anyway. So I graduate in the fall, start working again, and that spring, which was 2016, I had to go back and present a paper I got published at a conference that the school was holding. So, academia, they have these conferences. People present their work. I had to go back and present a paper that was related to my thesis, so stand up in front of the audience, whatever, do all that stuff. Conference was like Wednesday, Thursday. I was going to stay through the weekend to see all my friends again, drive home on Sunday. It's a 7-hour drive from Charlotte to Pittsburgh. It just happened to be Easter week. So, hang out with my friends all weekend after the conference. I'm driving back on Sunday, and it's Easter Sunday. I mean, I'm a good Catholic. Like, when we went, we were Creaster Catholics, right?
Don't
Christmas and Easter. So I was like, I'd been going to church sporadically. Like, I should go to church. It's Easter Sunday. But I didn't want to be inconvenienced, so I just Interstate 77 north out of Charlotte, church near me. I'm going to find a church next to the interstate, so on the way I'll get an hour outside the city and just pop out to a church and bounce right back on the interstate. And oh, cool, this looks like a cool church. Elevation.
Hope to not meet anyone.
Yeah. Elevation Church, Lake Norman campus. Cool, good enough for me. For those of you who are unaware, that is the same elevation of all the fancy music everybody listens to. I had never heard of Christian music, let alone Elevation, at this point in time yet. I had no familiarity with Elevation as a church. So I pull in the parking lot, and it's a multi-site church in Charlotte. This is one of their campuses. So similar to us is a video campus. Pull in, and it is huge. Like, it's a not even like their main campus. And
Betting they got guys in the parking lot directing people.
Oh, yeah. Harvest Katanning would fit inside of it. It was probably like a 3,000 person seating capacity auditorium. Cool. I was like, smokes, I didn't know they made churches this big, but easier to hide in the back when there's this many people. So big auditorium, all blacked out like ours, very similar to ours. There's live worship band, campus pastor, video sermon from Stephen Furtick, who's a pretty well-known pastor since their church is so big. I have no idea what he said. I assume the gospel is in it because it's Easter Sunday. But after the video sermon, the campus pastor stands up and does what I now know to be an altar call. The altar call. I had never heard that term before. I had never experienced an altar call before. What I had experienced before was in Catholic Mass. If you've never been, there's like 3 or 4 times during a Catholic service where you congregationally like say a prayer together, or like I already said, you repeat the Apostles' Creed or the Nicene Creed. Like
it's a community event.
So when this guy stands up and says the classic, like, if you want Jesus to be the Lord of your life and let Jesus into your heart and just give it all away to him, like, join me now in closing your eyes and raising your hands and repeating after me. And I'm bawling, like, I'm getting saved. I am asking Jesus into my heart. But I also assumed that this was just like, oh, this is the Protestant reaffirmation of faith every week. Of course, commitment. All these people are Christians. They all want Jesus to be the Lord of their life, and this is how they reaffirm their Christianity at the end of the service every week. Makes sense if you're a Catholic. So I close my eyes, raise my hand, as snot runs out of my nose as I'm crying, and ask Jesus into my heart to be the Lord of my life, thinking I'm...
We repeating words after this guy?
Yep.
Okay.
I think I'm in total privacy because I'm in a room of 3,000 people in the dark.
And they're all supposed to be saying it.
And they're all supposed to be having their eyes closed and their hands up and saying it. And I open my eyes, and I am not saying it along with everyone. I'm like one of 5 people in this whole audience with their hand up, and there's like 4 or 5 dudes with
Here come the vultures.
Lanyards. They're already there. There's lanyards surrounding me, and everybody's hugging me, and I'm like trying to clean my face up, like, what is happening? I have to get the H out of here. That was like the only thought I had. I got a Bible. I got like the welcome bag with some swag.
At least one hug.
Oh, 4. I got so many hugs. And then everybody's trying to invite me to lunch.
Wait, you didn't get the welcome bag until you got saved?
Maybe it was the saved bag. Maybe it was a second bag.
Whoa.
I don't even remember. Like, I got
we
stuff.
need to employ here.
I got stuff. And I just was like, I don't live here. I live in Pittsburgh. No, thank you. I got to get the heck out of
Thanks
here.
for the eternal life. I'm out,
I
boys.
well, I didn't even know that that's what happened. But I basically practically ran away. I didn't literally run away. And was just like, got to get back on the road. We got to get this behind me. This embarrassing moment. And I realize now that was my born again moment. So there you go, Stephen Furtick. Don't know what he preached, but the altar call got me. And
but in every way that Christ is proclaimed. That's what Paul says in
right.
Philippians 1.
Right. Yeah. So that was 2016. Fast forwarding, because I'm a big talker, so this is going to be 3 hours. Now I got to go to church a little more, but I'm still not going regularly. I end up meeting Sean Baker, who's an elder here, if you don't know him. And we met at a mutual friends gathering. We knew of each other because we went to high school together, but we were never friends in high school. He was graduated a year above me. So we like knew who each other were, but had never hung out. And we're at this party, and he's looking for guys to go coyote hunting with. I'm serious. I was like,
when you say party, you mean
it was
getting drunk or
there was alcohol involved, but it was not like it was. Our mutual friend's band was playing like a 4th of July gig, something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was.
So you're just there for the people and the event, not necessarily there to continue on your debauchery or anything like that.
There was some debauchery. It was not nearly to the level it was before. I just got saved. Like, it's fun, you know.
I'm not blaming you.
Yeah. No, there was alcohol consumption involved. So he's like looking for some people to go coyote hunting with. I love all things hunting. I was like, I've never gone coyote hunting before. You get to hunt at night with guns. This sounds awesome.
Let's go kill something.
Yeah. And so he just, awesome evangelism strategy. It's just like, sweet.
Wait, he was evangelizing you?
He goes, we go hunting at all these well pad properties that I have access to for work up in Katanning. Why don't you just meet us Friday night at church? We'll go to church together, and then after church we'll leave from the parking lot because the well pads are all right there. So
slip in that little church
Sean got me to come to Harvest Church for the first time ever.
That's awesome.
To go coyote hunting after Friday night service.
Which we need Sean on this podcast to tell
so,
his story.
First time ever going coyote hunting, first time ever going to Harvest Church. I meet Sean and Bill Baker, the magnificent Baker brothers, both of whom are elders here. I think more people know Bill just because he's been in the pulpit.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the events of the service? You remember?
I remember, as I'm sure a lot of people listening will relate to. I remember Mike preaching the gospel and being unique among all other preachers I'd heard to that point. Mm-hmm. I was like, he was talking directly to me, and I'd never heard anybody preach like him before, and I reheard the gospel. I was just like,
inconvenient for you, he had been a Catholic pothead as well.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that at the time. It'd be a while till I'd actually meet Mike. But I met Sean and Bill, and I remember consciously thinking, like, as I started hanging out with them more, we ended up hunting more together and becoming friends. It's like, these were the first, this is weird to say, I'm not trying to denigrate other Christians, but there's some truth in it, and I think other men listening will know what I'm saying. These are the first two, like, normal, masculine dudes that I, like, enjoyed being around. had a lot of the same hobbies, interests, mannerisms as me, were not effeminate, but openly and unashamedly loved Jesus. And we're just like Christians. Like I don't know. I'd never I wanted to be friends with these dudes. I thought they were cool. I liked hanging out with them. They were in all the manly stuff. You know, we would go to MMA together and jiu-jitsu together and go hunting together. And they're just like good old Western PA guys, like so many guys in this church. And they were not ashamed or like scared at all of the fact that they also loved Jesus with their whole heart and weren't afraid to say it. And it was like totally new experience for me. It was very attractive.
One of the beauties of this church. Now, I'll caveat it by saying women always seem to get it in the church. They're always the ones doing the work. They're always the ones who seem to be more genuine worshipers, whether they are or not, doesn't matter. But what I love about Harvest Church is a serious commitment to raise men who are normal dudes, like you said, who really love the Lord and will care for, love their families, will be humble before the Lord, but also not be ashamed of being men. And I love the church's commitment to that. I love that we have 30 elders here, all of whom I can put in that category. It's a cool thing here.
Yeah, and in fairness, I know it's not just us. I just probably didn't know where to look before.
Yeah.
Because in hanging out with them, like, it's a sidebar, like they ended up taking me to a place where we did some MMA and jiu-jitsu training and stuff. And the guy whose facility it was, awesome, Christian mentor for both of those guys. He doesn't go to this church, but like we'd literally be going there punching each other in the head and and then be talking about Jesus while we were doing it and like do little Bibles. Like I know that man was a big mentor in their lives and had been teaching them martial arts since they were in high school and was intertwining Bible study and martial arts. And so like I know there are a lot of those guys out there. I don't want to pretend like we have the market cornered. I had never found them before. And so that was really refreshing. And then through Sean, I got introduced to my now wife, and she was...
What's the connection between Sean and your wife?
Sean is married to my wife's younger sister. So Sean and I are now brother-in-laws.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so Sean and I are married sisters. So my wife is the older sister of Sean's wife, and she's a super Christian. So, so when you start dating a super Christian, you got to
step up your game.
You got to be a Christian, buddy. So, like I said, I've been saved, but now I'm going to church regularly with her and her family. She was going to church at the time, primarily at a place in Oakmont. She's on the worship team there, just like she is now. And
so did you abandon your love for Harvest for a woman?
Yeah, I only really came to Harvest like a couple times, and absolutely I did. The way of the serpent on the ground, the way of the eagle in the air, and the way of a man with a maiden. So, yeah, we end up getting engaged. And I'll tell you a funny church story. I'm now like, I'd gotten saved, which we just covered, but I was still like skeptical. I had all of the, I'm too smart to be a Christian trappings from just a total imbibing, like drinking up of the modern atheistic scientific culture. Again, we've covered my arrogance. I was too smart. Christians are dumb. Everybody knows that God's not real. You know what I mean? Like I had all that baggage. Like I somehow knew that God was real, Jesus was real, and he saved me, but I hadn't yet found the answers to all the questions you're taught to ask in secular atheistic education system. You know what I mean? So I was in this weird place where I was like, I was a Christian, but I didn't really know how to embrace it yet. So we get engaged, and the youth pastor there great guy. I love him. We went to their young adult group every week because, we were in our upper 20s. He was running the young adult group. He was going to do our premarital counseling, and we were his first ever premarital counseling couple. He's younger than both of us. So first thing he has us do is he has us take this survey. It's like a simple.
We're about to learn tools of the trade.
Don't do this.
What not to do.
I love him. I have not spoken to him since, but I didn't hold it against him.
I thank God for it.
Yeah. So he gives us this survey, and it's like one of those stupid medical surveys you get after going to the doctor. Like the satisfaction survey. It's like 6 questions. There's no open-ended answers. It's
6 questions.
It's a 0 to 5. It's a 0 to 5 scale. Like 5 being the hyperbolic, like very much. Mm-hmm. So somewhat, sort of, not very much, very not much.
Never,
like that.
Whatever. Yeah.
That weird 0 to 5 survey scale. And the first question is like, it's written in like this ultimate sort of fashion. Have you given over your life in its entirety to Christ, or something like that? 0 to 5. And I think I put a 2, which was like not very much or somewhat. And then I answered the rest. And what I was thinking, because I'm an engineer, is like, I'm brand new saved Christian. Like, I'm a Christian now, and I'm feeling the weight of Jesus's sacrifice on my behalf and how undeserving I am of that gift.
And I've got so far to go.
And I'm Catholic, right? Mm-hmm. This factors in. Like, when you're a Catholic, you have to get a confirmation name. Mine's Francis. So you have to research all these saints, the canonized saints, and pick one to get a saint name.
It's kind of like in Spanish class. We pick Spanish names.
I'm serious. So William Stafford Francis Land II. So Francis is my confirmation name. Francis de Sales, not Francis of Assisi. Francis of Assisi is the monk guy that wouldn't kill ants. Yeah, I didn't like that guy because I liked killing animals.
That's why some people pronounce it
But
Francis of Assisi.
I was literally thinking of Mother Teresa, because like, I'm not Mother Teresa.
Compared to her, you're a 2 out of 5.
I'm a 2. I haven't taken a vow of poverty. I haven't changed my profession at all. Like, I'm barely going to church on a weekly basis at this point. Like, I'm not a missionary across the world that's like forsaken everything else. And so that's really what's going in my head. It was really like a insecurity than it was I don't believe in Jesus.
Admission.
Okay, well, instead of again, first ever marriage counseling, young guy, instead of coming to me and saying like, "Hey, Will, I've known you now for like 4 months. This is a really interesting answer. Can you explain this to me? Because like, I've interacted with you a bit. I wouldn't have expected you to rate this." Instead, he calls a private meeting with my wife without my knowledge, and then vehemently tries to convince her to break off the engagement because I'm not a Christian and she's about to break God's direction of not being unequally yoked. Which, hey, look, I get it. We talk about that. You just heard in last podcast with Joe, don't do that. Don't marry unequally yoked people. But he didn't actually get a chance to get more context. And I'll tell you what, my wife was
mad.
P.O.'d. She was mad. And so we quit going to church there. He did not do our premarital counseling. We got a different pastor friend of ours to do it. It was great premarital counseling, and we needed a new church. And I was like, you know what? This is great. I didn't really like this place anyway. And now that I'm understanding, like, I need to be the spiritual head of our household and kind of like, I need to become a Christian now. Like, I really like that Harvest Church that I went to a few times with Sean and Bill. Like, let's go there. And they were going here. And so we started going to Harvest.
Nice.
And pretty immediately.
What year would this have been?
17.
Okay.
17. Because pretty immediately, when I first decided to go to the Harvest, we went to Katanning a few times. This is gravel parking lot, old sanctuary, Katanning. And Sean and I were both feeling convicted that we needed to really mean it and get more involved in church. And we both felt that like tanning was too big back in the gravel parking lot days. It was too easy to show up late, sit in the back row. Everybody else did everything. You left. You could stay unplugged easily. And it was right when they took over Freeport campus. They were looking for more people to go there. We lived closer to that campus, and we were like, can't hide. Let's go get involved there. And we were right. We showed up at Freeport, and Mike Harvey is there, and like there was no hiding at Freeport. Like
a couple dozen other people.
You got involved. No, it was actually 70. It was probably 75 people at the time. Okay. It was bigger than it is now. Yeah, but Harvey, man, I love Mike Harvey. I love the whole Harvey family.
He's like a secret agent of discipleship and love.
Dude. And Mike Harvey, the whole Harvey clan. So I'm very good friends with his children now too, through this process. But you know, he's on you like white on rice. Again, I did not have a good feel for like what real pastors were like. Probably just because I'd never known one. I never will let one into my life. But Harvey's just like on you, getting to know you. Like, let's go get lunch sometime.
Yeah, if a comment gets dropped of like, hey, let's hang out, Michael Harvey's putting a date on the calendar, and
dude,
or
so
showing up at your house.
Literally, Harvey's. You know, we should get lunch sometime, get to know each other, and you're just like, yeah, I don't want to go to lunch with you, but sure. You're just polite, like this will never happen. I think it was like that week.
Yeah.
I'm at work, and it's like a half hour because he asked me in the conversation, like, well, how long is your lunch break? It's like, oh, it's an hour. Okay, cool. And then like that week at work, half hour before my hour lunch break, I get a call from Mike Harvey. I didn't know who it was. Number, answer, it's Pastor Harvey.
On the way.
I'm like, hello? What are you doing for lunch? Nothing. Cool, I'm in the area. You want to pop down to Permanis right at the bottom of the hill and meet me? Like, he's probably already sitting at Permanis.
He wasn't in the area.
No. There's no way he was just in Fox Chapel. Like, yeah, he drove 25 minutes down 28. So I go to lunch with Mike Harvey, which was great. We end up doing the new membership class with his son and daughter, Eli and Claire, Sean Baker and Sam Baker, so my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, Carly and I, and Josh. I think Josh and Claire are already married.
Mm-hmm.
So Josh and Claire, now Roop, Josh Roop and Claire Roop, who was Claire Harvey. And I can't remember, I think Hannah was there too. Maybe not. Who's now married to Eli Harvey. Anyway, it was like that group.
Western Pennsylvania, we're all connected.
Yeah, it was that group of young people, and we're doing membership class in the Harvey's home in Butler. And it was great. I was still very skeptical, challenging everything. And it's funny, I just learned this recently. Sorry to embarrass anybody, but I just found out recently that Claire was actively thinking in her head, as the membership group is coming to a close, we're going to become members of Harvest. She's like confronting her dad, like, what is this dude doing here? Like, he's not even a Christian. He's just a jerk.
Well, that was the story that I was waiting to tell. We were over in Asia at the time.
Okay.
And I think it happened sometime around when you guys were all in community group together. But Claire and my wife, so Claire's husband, Josh, is my brother-in-law, my wife's brother. So Claire and my wife are talking once a week, just, catching up and everything. And the one time she pulls me into the conversation and she says, there's this guy at church, Will, and I need some help with, like, he's asking a lot of questions. I think he's, like, getting close to being a Christian, and he's really smart, and no one knows how to answer him. So can you help? And I remember, like, a couple of snippets where it was like, all right, what's he do? And she's like, just exactly like your wife. I think it was something with lasers. and then she'd give me examples of stuff that you guys were talking about, and I was like, my gosh, this dude sounds smart. But I remember coming back thinking, I think it was for one of our furloughs, coming back thinking, I got to meet this guy because I want to engage him in conversation and see if we can like develop some answers and some understanding. Little did I know that you were already on the train. You were just wrestling with some.
Yeah, I really was. And again, I was just still being a jerk. Still hadn't learned how to not be a jerk. I didn't realize that's how I was coming off to everybody at group or at the membership class. I just had like earnest questions, but I probably wasn't. Certainly, I don't remember, but I'm sure that I wasn't gracious in the way I approached the asking of the questions. And Harvey's told me that at the time he wasn't even sure I was saved, and he admitted to me he had the thought that he's like, man, this dude's just gonna be too smart for his own good, and he's gonna stop himself from finding Jesus. I think retrospectively, Jesus had already given me a new heart, but I was just wrestling with stuff. So I come out of that membership class. We did that like in the winter of 17 into the early spring of 18, like February, March or whatever. And I actually got married to my wife in June of 18. So 18 is a big year for me. I became a member at Harvest, finished that class. In June, my wife and I got married. And at the one service in August of 18, Mike Harvey baptized me in the Allegheny River here at Harvest. So, and I did cry at that. And something changed. Something changed after the baptism. I quit fighting it. Like I had all the questions. I was just like, quit being scared of being dumb. Like quit being that was a weird way to say that. Quit being scared of what other people think.
Because you're worried at this point of like having all the right answers to the right questions.
I didn't have any of the answers.
Okay.
But just embrace, like you're a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
You just got baptized. Like you uncontrollably cried when trying to tell your story at the baptism because you know Jesus died for your sins. And quit shaming him, And that's when I just started like, all my interests changed. Like up to that point, I was in an MBA program at work, so I'd gotten the master's in engineering. Now work's paying for me to get an MBA, master's of business administration on the side. Still doing really well at work. I was interested in like all things finance and business and reading business books and all the stupid stuff people read. I like business books, don't get me wrong, but it shouldn't be the only thing you read. And everything just switched. I just started reading theology books. It was right then that Harvey went to PVC and Andy Summers came to Freeport. It was actually when I first met Mike, because Mike came to Freeport at nights. I did a little Bible study group with Mike, kind of developed a friendship with Mike. That really sucked me into the Bible, and he gave me some resources. And then when Andy came on, I did a R.C. Sproul systematic theology study with Andy. And all of a sudden,
so much respect for you type of guys who are willing and able to self-feed on that deep stuff. And then like Andy, again, another powerhouse of Christian leadership. And
he was coming to my house every week, and I still have it on the shelf. It's called Everyone a Theologian. It's like a 101 introduction to systematic theology by Sproul. And he and I came over every week, and we went through that book together. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, like, my desire for knowledge about all things God, just I don't know. I didn't want to read anything else. I was just like reading philosophy stuff. I'm spending my lunch hours like watching Ligonier conference talks. If you don't know who Ligonier Ministries is, look them up. But like, I started just consuming crazy amounts of philosophy and theology.
I just love the full cycle nature of it all, where it's like we're looking back to your childhood where it was part of the culture in your family to feed yourselves and to grow and to learn, and now it's being applied to something much more glorious and much more eternal. I love seeing those building blocks.
Yeah, and it was awesome. I felt more satisfied. I finally felt like, why? All of a sudden I was finding all the answers because they're out there.
Yeah.
They're really good answers because they're the truth. And all of a sudden none of it was confusing to me. I didn't feel dumb. I went back to feeling smarter than everyone. I wanted to
I'm restored.
I wanted to go back to undergrad and like, where's all these people who were so stupid before? Let me show them like why God does exist and Jesus is the Lord of the universe. I don't even remember where I was going with that. I felt like someone had handed me the keys to the castle. Like this is all so obvious now. Why did I even have doubts before? I'm still there now. If you have doubts, we can talk about them. I feel very confident in faith. It's just true. It's
We've
just true.
seen no other theme from your story.
Confident.
Will is confident.
It's true. It's just true. We can talk about it. I went into a big, one of my favorite hobby horses about DNA last night with some guys. So let's talk about DNA.
And it was so significant that I've already heard about it from
one
of the guys.
That God is real. We'll sit down and talk to you about linguistics. So that's 18. So 18 through 20 is just consuming. And somewhere in 19, I approached my boss. I was halfway through my MBA at Pitt, and I told him I was not finishing it. They were paying for it, and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then I told him I was going to go to seminary. We had a great conversation about it. I just want to learn more. So I started paying on my own to go to an online seminary for apologetics and theology. So like a philosophy, theology focus. And COVID happens, 2020. I was already feeling dissatisfied in my career. I, again, was still doing very well. But I just like couldn't see myself, now that I understood the objective truth of reality, just retiring from
limiting
Aerotech.
yourself by being an HR person forever.
I wasn't in HR.
Well, you started in HR.
No, I started in R&D.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry.
Come on, man. Lasers. I just couldn't see myself like, all of a sudden, the American dream value hierarchy that was instilled in me was not my value hierarchy anymore. I still am a huge proponent of like the normal everyday working life as being honoring to God. Like I think you can live a totally honoring life, putting food on the table, making society happen, being a good witness in your place of business and in your home, and participating in your local church. Like you don't have to go be a missionary in Papua New Guinea to be a fully realized Christian.
Yeah, where God has called you.
Yeah, but it just wasn't doing it for me anymore. I was like, I can't do this. Like, so I called Mike. We had a relationship at the time, and we were just talking about like other career paths I could take. He's just like asking me normal questions like, well, what do you like to do? And talked about all sorts of stuff, and we kind of just dug in on like, I think I really like teaching. My dad's a teacher. I thought I never wanted to be a teacher because I didn't have the patience for it at the time. And so I just didn't think I was meant to be a teacher, but I find myself teaching. If you let me talk for more than 30 seconds, like all of a sudden I'm teaching something.
So this is like around this time you started to realize you want to be a teacher?
Yeah, it was right around COVID.
Because again, when I met you or when we started to become friends, is when you wanted to be a teacher. I just assumed it was part of the track the whole time. Because your dad
Mike had encouraged me, and for any of you guys that went to the first apologetics class, yeah, Sunshine's shaking her hand. I don't even remember when that was. Is that 2019? You can look it up. Look it up right now. It's on our YouTube page.
The one that's on the YouTube page I went to, so I think it was probably 2020 because we weren't back in the States till 2020.
Yeah, was it during lock? Anyway, yeah, so it was right there, 2020.
Yeah.
Mike was like, well, if you think you want to teach, like, you're really passionate about all this stuff. You just learned all this stuff the last 2 years. Why don't you, like, put together a class and try teaching at the church just as a trial run to see, like, do you actually like teaching? So I did that apologetics class, and I was like, dude, I like teaching. So, but I didn't want to teach engineering. And the only certifications I had, like, the only credentials I had officially were math and science related, because I never finished the MBA and I had no credentials from a religious institution. And, you know, for better or worse, you cannot become a collegiate professor these days without a PhD in the domain you want to teach. Yeah. Like, I could have probably got an adjunct professor thing teaching physics at community college, but I had no desire to go teach physics. I wanted to teach philosophy and theology. So it's like, okay, I got a new aim. I'm going to finish this undergrad seminary degree I'm working on, and then I'm going to get a PhD in theology and philosophy, and I'm going to go be a professor at a local Christian college or a local seminary. That was the thing. So I was on this, like, you know, planned it all out. I was on this, like, 10 to 12 year timeline for this huge life shift in vocation. 2020, I'm 31. I'm thinking by, like, early to mid 40s, I'll be jumping ship and becoming a professor. For anybody out there who's done college work as a grown-up with a spouse and a child and a full-time job and a lot of commitments at church, you know what I'm talking about. It is exhausting. It is not the same as undergrad. It's like, this sucks. And, like, I did 2 different semesters where I took 2 classes, 6 credit load, and they almost crushed me. Like, one class.
One was hard for me, too.
Well, Mike and I have talked about seminary. Like, the reading, we've joked in previous podcasts, if you haven't learned, like, the volume of reading they pile on top of your head, it is truly unreasonable.
It's part of the learning.
They're, like, trying to break you.
Yeah.
I've said this before, but if you didn't hear the episode, for one class, I remember, because I'm an engineer, I made a spreadsheet of the total volume of pages I had to read, and it was 20% of your grade was reading completion. And they, you know, it's seminary. They do all this honesty code thing. It's between you and God, but you got to write down the actual page percentage
of the 1,000 pages
that you completed, and that counts towards 20% of your grade. And if you lie, that's between you and God. So I calculated out. I had to read 57 pages every day, 7 days a week for the whole semester, on top of the papers, the other assignments, and the exams.
Lectures, the online discussion.
To hit 100%. And that, it compounds. Like, you know, it's Easter and you want to go to your parents' house to Easter or whatever, you got 57 pages. And if you don't read
you're
it,
3 days behind already.
Yeah, tomorrow, if you don't do it, that means tomorrow you got 114 pages. Yeah. Like, and that was just for one class. It's just a lot. And so 2 classes I couldn't do. And then I started just, like, 2 years in, I'm like, I don't think I can do this for a decade. Like, it was sucking the joy out of it. Yeah. Like, I was finally at the place in life where most of the guilt had been washed away. I really knew how to study and consume knowledge that I wanted to. Like, I knew how to pour myself into, like, edifying myself. Like, I was where I should have been when I was 20, finally. But, like, with all of the other burdens of life, is, like, crushing, which is exactly the opposite of what you want. It's like,
I swore at the end of undergrad I was never doing more formal schooling because, like you said, it just sucked the joy out of it.
Yeah, for you young people,
don't say never.
Don't waste the 20s.
Yeah.
Because it will never be easier. Like, you have all the freedom and the time and the not much, you know, money responsibilities or responsibilities to care for other people, or, like, there will never be another time where you can, like, say my full-time job is to, like, build myself up and
get married and have babies young, but when you don't have them, take advantage of the time.
Even when you're getting married and having babies, then
You've got more energy.
Yeah, it's just different. Like
your brain can handle more. Yep.
Yeah, like
we are talking like some old people.
Yeah. But anyway, it's the real deal.
Yeah.
So I was like, I've told this story before. I just don't know if on here. We had met at this point. I remember meeting you. Your wife was over for a Bible study my wife was having, or a book study. And I had awareness of you, but I don't think we'd ever met. And you came over to work out with me. You remember that?
I do remember that.
I think
that
was
wasn't the first time we met. The first time we met was at your community group.
Yeah, but that was like
But we
the first
didn't
time we ever
interact.
hung out.
Yeah.
And I just still get put to shame every time I try to work out with Isaac. Don't work out with Isaac. He makes you feel bad about yourself.
I feel the same. Reciprocal.
But yeah, I was doing this weird log workout because it was COVID. None of the gyms were open. So I had all these log rounds. I had to develop this like log routine.
Who's going to carry the logs?
The log routine on the hill. And then we went for a run. And it was the fastest I ever did that 5-mile loop. I was like, he is going to kill me. Anyway, so Isaac and I had a relationship at this point, and you had just you were back from Asia, similarly having a like, what am I doing with my life moment, and not to tell your side of it,
that
but
lasted for years.
Yeah. Still figuring it out.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do this for 10 years. The way I saw it, I had like 2 primary options. I could either quit my job and just go to grad school out of seminary full time. I could shrink that 10 years to probably 3 years, like get a PhD, compress a 3-year program, do what I wanted to do, which is just have my full-time job be like a teaching assistant and a PhD student, which I had been before. And just dive headfirst into the switch. If that's what I really wanted to do, why stretch it out over 10 years? Just do it. Quit your job. Like Mike. That's how Mike went to seminary, by the way. Quit your job, sell all your stuff, sell one of your 2 vehicles, and move all your kids and your wife to a trailer and just
Jesus take the wheel.
Just go to seminary. So Mike was no help. Like you asked Mike this question. He's like, yeah, do it. Just quit tomorrow. Sell your house. Go move to Kentucky. Go to Southern Seminary. But the other option I saw was like, again, going back to you can faithfully honor God in a normal profession. It's like, well, God has gifted me, like graced me with this awesome job that provides a lot of material resources. Great boss. I love my church. Why don't I just use that as a means to do other ministry? Like I was making really good money. I really wanted, still do, to start a classical Christian school. I was like, so that's option 2. Like I could just stay at Aerotech forever and call it part of my spiritual service of worship and stay involved at Harvest. I was in elder candidacy at the time, and I can use the means that God's given me with this job to help raise capital to be on the board of a Christian school I want to get started, because like you need a lot of money to start a Christian school. Nobody can take a salary. Like I could have been an administrator and a board member at a Christian school, and the other job would have paid for my life, help support my church. So those are like my 2 options.
Regardless of your profession, there's something important to be said about learning to glorify God in monotony.
Yeah.
Like the boring stuff.
Yeah. No things are too small.
That's right.
Right? Like small things are big things. And so I met you, and we were changing your water pump in your car. No, it was your water. Yeah, it was your water pump. So we have this conversation. Walk away from working on Isaac's car. Option A is the option. I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to dive headfirst in the seminary, compress this decade-long struggle into like, just do it. If that's what you want to do, do it. And that was on a Tuesday night, I remember, because Wednesday it's COVID, so I'm working at home in my home office because we're still not going to work at the time. I think it was 2021 already. No, 2022, 3.
I can't remember.
Doesn't matter. I never went back. Once they closed everything down and let us work from home, they never really got us back in the office. So majority of the time I was working from home. And so I'm on my lunch break in my home office. And I'm, of course, theme here, I'm working on a spreadsheet. That's a pros and cons list of my 2 options. I'm just doing one final check.
You should see the amount of spreadsheets this dude has on his computer.
I do have a lot of spreadsheets. Pros and cons lists of my 2 columns. Do I want to dive head first in the seminary to become a professor, or do I want to stay working at Aerotex forever as a means to do other ministries I have a passion for? And the phone rings, and it's Mike Greiner, who knew I was in this vocational turmoil, and Pastor Fred just retired, and he thought I might be interested, and I should consider applying if I feel called at all to this current role. And so we talked for a little bit and hung up and added a 3rd column to the spreadsheet. I'm serious. Have it still. And it just was like the perfect fit of both things. Like an opportunity to continue to learn, an opportunity to teach if I want to use all my administrative gifts I had gathered through the years in my previous career, but directly for the church. Still potentially down the road, the opportunity to be involved in standing up a Christian school, or at least getting involved in Christian schooling. Like, I just felt like from 2020, so 2018 to 2020 was like the consuming, learning, growing. 2020, 2023 was really like 3 years locked in my home office of dissatisfaction, like angst of what I was doing.
God preparing your heart.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it just felt like, here's the door. Like he just offered you the door. Are you going to walk through it? Yeah. Or are you not going to walk through it? And I've said this before, I think on here, maybe not on here, but definitely to other people. Like I still don't at times feel like a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
I titled this in my notes, which I have closed. Who hired this guy anyway? So you're like, well, couldn't I just be the executive director? Like, couldn't I just be like the business admin guy and not be a pastor?
Because you don't already going to make a comment about that before you said it, but to the audience, I want to say how unique it is that we have an executive pastor that can, I don't know how to say this without making it seem like shouldn't they all be like that, but who will sit down with Mike and be able to pull verses from his head, who will sit down with guys and disciple them, who like has both. Like we just sat in a meeting where he gave me the basics of Google, which I should know by now. And I thought, man, some of this is really boring. And then and then we'll get together and discuss theology and what's happening in the hearts of these guys that he's disciplining or discipling.
Sometimes disciplining.
But like I just find it so unique and so incredible and wonderful that we've got an executive pastor that is actually a pastor, that is a shepherd. I don't know if that's unique or not, but I think that particular position lends itself to be able to have a guy in there who's really technical and who's got the engineering mindset, but is a little weak on the theology stuff. But we've got I know you think that's you, but I disagree. But we've got a guy who loves the Lord, like genuinely loves the Lord, loves what he's doing. The fit is perfect because both aspects of what makes you, like what makes you uniquely you, are in this job, and you can see it. Like again, the meeting we had on Tuesday, I was like, if we have to, what were we talking about? Oh, if we have to talk about AI for one more hour, I'm gonna hurt somebody. But then like remembering what you're like when someone talks about theology or scripture, or the fact that you're such a crybaby, even though I'm the crying pastor.
Yeah, I don't cry.
I'm really thankful for where the Lord has brought you.
I can feel my ears blushing now because I'm Irish, like my mother. Yeah, well, it's very kind. You can ask almost any of the elders. I take that back. To a man, I know you can ask any of the elders, vocational or non-vocational. It is just a weighty thing. There are warning verses in the Bible about being held to an account for shepherding God's flock. Like it's not a thing to be taken lightly. I think it's very common to have some trepidation, like not me, like I'm not ready for this. I know you felt like that too. Yeah. I think all the elders have felt like that. It definitely shouldn't be taken lightly. The Bible admonishes you to not take it lightly. And so I did have trepidation, but I remember in writing the letter to the elder team, I was just going to submit myself to their decisions. Like I really implicitly trusted the leadership of this church by that point in time, like wholesale, in total submission to their spiritual leadership. I didn't necessarily feel, you don't always want to trust your feelings, but like it was uncomfortable. I would have rather have just been the executive director and continued to be shepherded. You're always being shepherded. You guys get it, all the normal Christian qualifications, but I surely haven't arrived. Can I just be the business guy? But you just submit yourself to them and like let them decide. Like, yeah, I mean that's what submission is. It's like let them. It's their job, so just go through the process that they want you to do.
And my hope for
let
you
yourself
is
bare, answer all their questions, let your soft underside of where you think you're weak be known, and let them suss it out.
My hope for you is the same hope that I have, which is I hope you never arrive or feel like you've arrived.
I still haven't, because I'm still not the president of the United States. So next time around, when you guys all vote me into office, then I'll know that I have arrived. I'm not yet old enough to be elected, so a couple more years, everybody.
I thought you had to be 35.
I thought it was 45.
I don't think so.
See, I failed physics. I don't know. I failed civics. What?
I think you're just swaying it towards how old our recent presidents have been.
I thought it was 45. Maybe it's 35. 35 sounds right, because back when they made that rule,
it is 35.
Everybody died at like 60 probably.
Fast.
Yes, she's good. Did you look up when that apologetics class was?
He said that it must have been 2020, so I didn't check. That sounds about right, because I feel like I remember we were sort of a slightly social distance, like 2 people per table.
So we'll do another one. Presuppositional apologetics coming soon. I don't know when, but I am excited about it. So
if you got time in your schedule.
Yeah, man makes time for what he's passionate about. Yep. Yeah, that's it. So now I'm here. It's 2025. I've been here for 2 years.
Thankful that you're here.
What else?
I have 2 questions that could probably just be ask the pastor questions for later, and that if someone really wants to hear them, I can say them, and if people are interested, they can reiterate their.
I'm curious. Will it help me study and sound smart later?
So the first one, let me see is a discussion on morality. So this came from, you didn't connect them, but I'm thinking from your story. You said around 16 is when you stopped going to Catholic church, and it sounds like about that era is when you went into your world of self-claimed debauchery.
Yeah, 18.
I just had a conversation. Actually, I was invited into a conversation, but I was trying to sleep because it was 11:45 p.m. And I heard the feedback from it later about a family discussion where they were talking about how much is too much for essentially theologizing kids. Like, how do I really need to teach, or should we really be teaching kids these big theology words? Should we really be what the world might say, brainwashing them to understand, and also to understand big theological concepts? And also, is there a connection between, even though you weren't saved in the Catholic Church, you had this like grounds of morality. You had these rules that you followed, and it seems like when those dropped off is when your physical adherence to
rebellion.
them. Yeah, like is there something to be said about training kids in morality, even if it's separated from actual relationship with Christ?
Yes. Read C.S. Lewis.
And then
no, I do have I have re-listened to Abolition of Man twice in the last week. Great C.S. Lewis book, the Abolition of Man, like the abolishment of man. We can talk. I think that's a great question. We'll address it later. I think it's a big one.
Okay. So someone
that
more articulate than me is going to have to rephrase that question. I wrote morality versus debauchery as the.
Well, I think of that as Mike and I touched on culture being a schoolmaster 2 podcasts ago. Morality is part of culture because morality is a spiritual issue, which Mike and I talked about as well. The whole point of the book, The Abolition of Man, is that you cannot derive a value hierarchy, a morality system from anything but raw assertion. Like there either is objective morality, which you have to anchor in something, which is why morality has traditionally always come from God, whether it's the true God or not the true God, whatever the morality system is, because there's no rational way to get to morality. There's no there is no atheistic way to have any morality system.
Make an assertion that you should do or not do something.
You can't. What Lewis says is you can't get from rational indicatives. So indicative statements just mean they indicate what is. They're statements of fact, right? You can't get from indicatives to imperatives. You can't get from what is to what should be. There's no connection, right? You can't derive shoulds and oughts from is. And so I think what you're finding, what I think God has blessed us with the law being written on our heart, what we call human conscience, like having a conscience, like feeling guilty, is the fact that there is an objective moral system. And even when you try to reject it wholesale, like if you take on full modernity, it's all subjective, do whatever you want, you have no claim to say what I'm doing is wrong because I get to decide what's right and wrong. People still don't feel good.
Yeah. I just had a related conversation with someone from the LGBTQ community and who argued like we're dealing with antiquated ideas, not thinking that 2 men can marry one another. But if you bring up, well, what about a man sleeping with a child? Everyone agrees, almost everyone agrees.
They actually get offended that you're making the comparison.
Right.
I have made that comparison in my immediate family. Didn't go well. It was very offensive. But there is no logical grounds to accept the one and not the other.
Right.
It's arbitrary.
There's no way to say, well, yeah, this will never be something that's acceptable in society.
And why shouldn't it? Well, why shouldn't it be acceptable if this is acceptable, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, and it can be a gift from God. It's not always a gift from God. You can feel guilty and go to hell forever because you are guilty. But you do, it seems to me, practically, that you kind of got to feel like you need saving to look for a savior. Mm. If there is no moral standard and it's all subjective, then why did Jesus have to die on the cross for me?
Well, that's the important value of like discussing sin in a gospel presentation. Was it on here in a conversation I had recently? I don't remember, but Francis Schaeffer said if I had an hour to share the gospel with someone, I'd spend 50 or 55 minutes trying to convince them that they're a sinner because it's so important to recognize a need for...
I would say that played out in my story that we just went through. I mean, yeah. It was uncomfortable, but I felt really guilty and then didn't want to go. I wouldn't even know if I would have called it hell. I didn't want to stand in front of the Creator, whoever he was, whether he was the one true living God or not.
The guy holding the scale of good and bad deeds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, my other question, which would be specific for you, but I think we should deal with another time, because given time, is...
Mike would say, don't pay attention.
Well,
they're
because
still listening,
this is so
like
right up your alley, and,
all right,
and such a big... Is there a battle between science and intelligence and Christianity and faith? Is there a distinction? Can they live together? Can they be in agreement with one another? See what I mean?
They can.
You need an hour to answer this.
No, I don't.
You
no,
want
I don't.
an hour. Sorry,
no, I don't. It's a perfect setup. One cannot live without the other. There is no such thing as rationality or knowledge at all apart from the one true living God. Science, perceived intelligence, any claim to specific knowledge collapses without a foundation of God's existence. Come to presuppositional apologetics.
Well,
you just can't. So
I'm thinking of the fact that when I went to public school, it wasn't even a possibility that the Big Bang happened. It wasn't even a possibility that evolution is real. It is the truth, and Christianity, religion, just had to figure out how to fit into it.
So it's dogmatic. Yeah. It's dogmatic, and forgive me if I offend any teachers out there, but your elementary school teachers don't know either. Neither do your college professors. They're just regurgitating what they've been told, and then it's ad hominem. It's at the human. It's a rather than attacking the argument or assessing the argument, a lot of times you just get shamed. Like, I can't believe you still believe that. It's fairy tale, right? Which is not what high-minded individuals do. You attack the argument, not the person who has the argument. And now that I know, okay, 15 minutes. We're doing the DNA talk.
Yes.
We're doing the DNA talk. I will give you an example. Okay, really quickly. This is a very high-minded discussion. You're going to have to think about it a lot, but I think it's actually easier than you think if you think about it. Okay. If you were to write the word apple down on a piece of paper in front of you, okay, do it. Entertain me. Write the word apple. Why do those symbols mean the word apple? Why those symbols?
Because I was taught, and if we trace it up the chain, there was an alphabet developed where certain letters reflected certain sounds and put together.
So somebody decided.
Yeah.
Presumably, I don't know them, but you could write Chinese symbols that are not those symbols, but that mean the same thing to a Chinese person's brain, right?
Right.
So people, minds, agents get together and collectively come up with symbols that are otherwise arbitrary to represent concepts in their brain. This idea of appleness. You're not thinking of one particular apple, right?
Right.
You're just thinking of...
Although it's red.
But it could be green. It could be yellow. But you know an apple when you see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is how language works in the real world. You experience an object like an apple or like a tree. And when you first experience it as a baby, you've only ever seen one apple. And so maybe you don't have a great idea of like what appleness is yet. But as you experience more apples over time, you start to abstract like, okay, well, they're not all the same. They're all shaped a little differently, but I definitely recognize them all as in the same category of this thing that we call apple, right? And so you experience objects in the world, and you naturally abstract what we call in philosophy a concept in your brain, treeness, right? I can recognize a tree, and a tree is not a chair, and a chair is not an apple, right? In fact, in human development, you're quicker at pulling the concept out of experiencing objects faster than you are at figuring out the language. This is why your baby can learn sign language for milk and for more before they're like able to write or read or even say words. They've grasped the concept in their brain of milk before they actually grasp language as a whole. So if you're writing on a piece of paper at home, please follow along. Draw an apple. That's the object. As you experience apples in the world, draw an arrow over to a rough drawing of a human head with a thought bubble above it. You grasp the concept of what Plato would call the forms of things. So when you say the word apple, you're not talking about one particular apple. You're talking about the category of object. And you naturally do this. Like, I can see two different apples. They have different shapes and different colors, but I know that they both are apples. It's just, I know what humans are. They're not dogs. And dogs aren't cats. Even though when I was a baby, I might have only experienced a dozen dogs, and they might have all been different colors and different shapes and sizes, yet even as a baby, I can naturally abstract the idea of their dogs. So that's what Plato would call their form. So that's what we're going to call concept. So apples on the piece of paper. You have a human head with a thought bubble, and draw an apple in the thought bubble. So we've developed the concept of appleness by experiencing the object. And then because we're social creatures, we come up with a word, a symbol to represent that concept so we can talk about it with our friends. So we just arbitrarily decide, well, in this part of the world, we came up with what looks like APPLE to represent that concept in my brain. In China, the sound wave sounds different than apple, and the symbols on the page look different than the English letters for apple. But in a Chinese person's head, they're still thinking about an apple. That's how we can translate between languages. So the symbols are arbitrary. What's shared is the concept in your brain, right? And we can do this for non-tangible objects as well. So like anger. Can't touch anger. I've experienced anger enough. I've seen the effects of anger in another person enough. I'm pretty sure when I tell Isaac I'm angry, he knows what I mean because we both conceptualized anger because we've experienced it in the world enough. So it works for non-physical things too. And so that's how language works for humans, right? It goes object to concept in our brain, and then we come up with a symbol to represent the concept so we can talk about it between each other. It's lofty, but the more you think about it, that's how language is developed. Okay, let's talk about DNA. Turns out, if you break down the universe into just two fundamental groups, if I make what I would call the most basic of categories, I would call them non-living and living. I got dirt and rocks and stars and air, inanimate objects, and then I have this thing on top of it we call life, and we don't really know how to define it very well, believe it or not, but you know it when you see it. That thing is alive. That thing is not alive, right? And at the base of all of reality, I will argue, is language. In inanimate objects, you have this thing we call mathematics, the laws of physics. The laws of physics that drive chemical reactions, right? You have math. And math was not invented. It was discovered. It's just there. Nobody invented calculus and then made the world work by calculus. We observed the world enough and realized that we can write these symbols down that have meanings. They're harder to understand than apple, but they're concepts just like apple. So we make up random symbols to represent them. And we realize that the non-living things follow this language called mathematics, and then the living things follow the language of mathematics, but on top of it, all living things, as you learned in high school biology, are made of cells, and inside of all living things, in their cells, is this thing we discovered in the 60s called DNA. And the biggest discovery of DNA wasn't the original double helix by Watson and Crick, but Watson Watson or Crick, I can't remember which one, so I might get it wrong. One of them was a code breaker in World War II. And the subsequent immediate discovery to the double helix of DNA was realizing that it was a code. Okay, so here's the great mystery that I think is extraordinarily profound. It's one of the most profound realizations of my life. Write down on your piece of paper AATGCA.
Got it.
Okay, I just made that up. It could have been anything. There's 4 letters in DNA. Why does that mean blue eyes?
I don't know, man.
I don't know either. The only reason we know that any one sequence of DNA means a thing is because we actually just observe RNA synthase, read it, put together a protein that then makes blue eyes in individuals. And we watch that happen over.
All these people with the same.
We watch that over and over again. We watch it 100,000 times. Every time it reads AATGCA, it makes blue eyes. It makes blue eyes. It makes that sequence of symbols must mean blue eyes, right? Okay.
So how does the body produce
blue
eyes?
But how did the RNA synthase know what it meant? RNA synthase isn't even alive. It's a chemical molecule. It's thousands of atoms big, but relative to the amount of atoms in my body, it's a handful of atoms. It does not have a brain. It does not have a soul. It is a chemical compound that is somehow reading a word and then doing what it says. So here's
this non-living
here's the
thing.
big here's the big switch around. How this is a philosophical question from time immemorial. It's even more apropos now with DNA. How does the acorn become the oak tree? Where in the acorn is the picture of the oak tree? And so I want you to draw a new picture. I want you to draw a head, a mind. It has the picture of the apple in it. And then it writes a word. AATGCA, and then the word produces the object. It's a different flow. This is how DNA works. At the heart of every one of your cells, every single cell in your body, there is a library that's thousands of times bigger than the National Library of Congress in D.C. It's inside of every single one of your cells. And it has step-by-step directions on how to construct you. Every hair, your eyes, what your voice sounds like, what your disposition and personality is. And somehow, inanimate molecules know how to read that book and then construct you because they obey its commands. Inside of the acorn is a giant tome that is describing the oak tree. And then the inanimate, non-living atoms of reality read that tome and obey its commands and build the oak tree. John 1:1. In the beginning was the
Word.
And the Word was with
God.
And the Word was
God.
Isn't it curious that the most ardent atheist, if you were to ask him to describe what is an electron, you'd say, what's an electron? The most accurate description of an electron you can get is to write down, I think it's like Maxwell's equation or whatever. It's a fancy math equation. He said, I cannot describe it any more accurately than this. We don't call it a word, but it's a sentence. Mm-hmm. It's a mathematic sentence. It's a symbolic representation of concepts. And the electrons obey that. They don't obey it because that's because what you wrote down. I can't change the laws of gravity by writing the gravitational equation on the chalkboard and then erasing one of the terms. And then all of a sudden gravity acts differently. No. Somebody else wrote it down in the fabric of the universe, and then the atoms obey it. In in the heart of every one of your cells is a book that where did the dictionary get written for it? How does RNA synthase know how to read it? Where's the dictionary that tells you what the definition of AAT-GCA sequence is? I don't know. But that little collection of 1,000 atoms reads it and knows to go make blue eyes and make you have blonde hair and turn an acorn into an oak tree. Like, it works in the opposite way. So here's what I'll say happens. God is a mind, the ultimate mind. We only have minds because we're image bearers of the Creator. He had a concept in his head called oak tree, and he wrote it into a book. And then he has the authority to tell the atoms of the universe to listen to what he said and make an oak tree.
He puts that little book in an acorn.
And every cell of the acorn every single cell of the acorn has the whole book of how to make the oak tree. And then literally the atoms of the universe, they're not little people, they're not little gnomes that go construct the oak tree. They're just atoms. Literally run down the DNA, read what it says, and then go produce the oak tree because they submit to his authority and his commands. The heart, if there's only two categories of things in the universe, non-living and living, a fundamental basis as far as all human understanding goes, even your most ardent atheist, at the basis of it all is words that then reality obeys the meaning of the words. And we only figure out what the meanings of the words are by watching what non-living and animate reality does when it reads them. When the electron spins around the nucleus and we observe it enough, we're able to figure out the equation and what it means only because the electron's obeying God's command, and we're able to figure out implicitly what the command is. Boom.
Top shelf will, everybody.
Boom. That's, yeah. So
now we test the reception of that concept by asking Sunshine to summarize what he just said. Just kidding.
Well, the picture helps. The picture helps.
Yeah, it does.
Humans, you experience objects. You see a bunch of apples. You then conceive of like what an apple is, and then you come up with a word which we call apple. It's just a representation, like the sound waves I'm making right now when I say apple, so that we can talk about apples. Man, wasn't that apple good? You understand what I'm saying because you've experienced apples, and so you have the concept in your head too, and so we just talk about concepts with symbols.
Well, as you were talking, I was thinking we take so for granted the fact that every acorn becomes an oak tree. And I was just thinking of Genesis 1 and 2, where God commands each thing to multiply according to its kind. It's like I was going to say dumbed down version, but it's the Bible, so it's not the dumbed down version. It's the
understandable version.
Yeah, it's the me-sized version of what you just said, which is that God has written this code into every acorn that it would produce an oak tree, and every oak tree that it would produce acorns, and every acorn, like that each thing is producing according to its kind. It is part of the discussion of what you're saying here, like that God has written this code. He's written these books into everything. And
reality bends to the will of the word. That's what's so astonishing in the reverse order for me. In human language, the root of all language are objects. They can be non-physical. They can be spiritual objects, or like numbers, or not tangible things, but we call them abstract objects. But you have objects that then get passed through a human mind, and then we come up with words to represent the objects. In the universe, in the creation of all things, God's mind writes down a word, and then the objects are literally created from the words. Which, I don't know how you don't think of Genesis. God spoke the universe into existence by the word of his power. Yeah. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what more concrete evidence you want.
Than a written code, a written book in everything.
There's a book inside of every one of your cells, and the atoms of your body obey it.
Good news for you readers.
There you go.
That's cool.
DNA.
Well, are we wrapping up?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Well, I think that was awesome. I hope you join me again on this podcast someday. We'll have you back.
I hope to. If you can invite me back, it'd be great. And I didn't cry, so it was good.
I'm disappointed.
You didn't dig deep enough.
Well, we're 2.5 hours in, so.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks. And ask questions. We need more Ask the Pastors. And if you have a question about that DNA stuff, I'd be happy to start a long email correspondence with you. All right. See you later.
See ya.